one of the interesting things about ancient Egypt is that in their need for labor, a good deal of that labor came from the south. And they came from what is today this area bordering the Sudan. And you know what Sudan means? It simply means black. Okay? And they attempted to conquer further down. It would have been an interesting phenomenon if they had in fact penetrated further south. But they came across society there and a state which was called Meroe. The ancient Egyptians encountered a very highly sophisticated state. In fact, do you know that Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt? But smaller pyramids, not that massive ones. Smaller ones. A very highly sophisticated civilization called the Meroitic civilization. Go and read up. We have been able to decipher ancient Egyptian, but not yet Meroitic. Do you know what happened? They were able to, they found a stone, the Rosetta Stone, and there was, in the 19th century, there was ancient Egyptian handwriting, and then there was on the one line, and then they had Greek writing and another kind of Greek writing. And so the Greek was deciphered, and basically it was a translation of the ancient Egyptian. And in that way, they could figure out like a puzzle, like a secret code to decipher ancient Egyptian, the ancient Egyptian languages. There was no translated stone like that for Meroitic. So scholars have been struggling for decades now to decipher this writing. But this was here in the heart of the Sudan, the northern Sudan. The northern Sudan only become Muslim very late, very interestingly, only in 1500. Only in 1500 AD. It's a big gap between the conversion of Egypt in the 700s, 800, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You know, almost 800 years later. It doesn't penetrate along the Nile Valley to the south. Now, okay, so now we have what we can call, what has been called the Horn of Africa. So that area is the Horn of Africa. Abyssinia, Somalia, and we also included a bit of Egypt and Sudan, okay? So that's the Horn of Africa. Let's make it a shape of horn. Okay, now we've done that Horn of Africa. Let us move. So here we have very highly organized states, highly organized societies, literate. For a large part, you have literate elites. Not necessarily literacy spread throughout the society, but you have literate elites. There was communication through correspondence and highly developed bureaucracies. Okay, in this part. Coming to the West Africa now, to the west. Let's move to the west. So before 1800, we also have these societies that we can talk of. Yeah. By that, let's start with Morocco. Morocco had a series of conflicting, what shall we call it, sultans or rulers. And in 1665, the Alawi family assumed, became the dominant family, and this family has been ruling Morocco ever since. It's the one ruling family that has had such a long line of authority amongst the so-called Arab ruling families. And so it has been a kingdom. Okay? Alawi. The Moroccans were both close to the Iberian Peninsula, that area around Spain and Portugal. It's called the Iberian Peninsula. Iberian. Okay. Now, this was like the integration and the mutual relationship, sometimes antagonistic and sometimes warring, between Southern Arabia and Abyssinia. You have that relationship here between Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. It's also a very narrow strait. Can you see there?
Yes.
So, in some ways, if you want to have a view of African history that goes beyond these barriers, that's part of it. And in some ways, that's part of it. This, as I told you, the Arabs spread along the coastal region here. They conquered Spain. So Spain was Muslim for a very long time, from the 700s, the middle 700s, until the 15th century. There were very powerful Muslim powers there, and there was a connection across the sea until the Christians pushed them out and Muslims and Jews had to flee. Muslims and Jews had to flee, and that was called, they were called the Moors. Okay? The Moors. The Moors were the Muslims of Spain. The country, the other way of spelling it is also Moors, and you will now know what country come to take that name.
Mauritius.
Mauritania.
Mauritania.
So Mauritania is basically, these people in Mauritania believe their connection is northward with those people who had ruled Spain before, and they're also lighter skinned. What basically along the northwest African corner, you have the links between Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, the fact that it had been dominated once by Muslims who built a grand civilization with major mosques and monuments and all sorts of interesting things. That's why Spanish has so many Arabic words also. Virtually every word in in Spanish with AL comes from Arabic. So this connection between the Iberian Peninsula continues, and you have people then who land up from that part of the world right into what is today Mali. After that, people are expelled from Spain. The Christians, when the Christians conquer, the Muslims flee and the Jews flee. So Jews also find themselves. Morocco always had a large Jewish population, and the country, the population, the mixed population that becomes the ruling families and the elite in the independent country of Mauritania, they claim, well, we actually connected to the north. And therefore, for a long time, and continuing in Mauritania, there has basically been a conflict, a color conflict between the people who are Moors, who think of themselves as white, and the black population. It continues, and slavery has had a long history in that story. By 1800, what we know today as Morocco. And Morocco is again also not the name of the country.
Okay.
The name of the country is the Maghrib, which basically means the West. The Maghrib, okay? This is Al-Maghrib. The, you know, one Arabic word you know now is the. Okay, so Maghrib is the name. By 1800 it had a strong central government. It had a central government based on tax collection, based on strong military, which should go out over the uncontrolled countryside every now and again, collect taxes and so on. But basically it has a strong history of central government. That's the point I want to make. And also a culture of literacy, even if it's not that widespread. They do use books and pens and actually very beautiful calligraphy and so on. Okay. From very early on then, you have the spread of ideas out of that area into the region around Mauritania and Mali. And the two most important states I just want to tell you about are called Ghana. The kingdoms of Ghana and Mali. And then later on Songhai. Let me just, I need to rush because I'm running out of time. Okay. Now Ghana, the Ghana we know of today is here. Ghana is there. But the historic Ghana, the Ghana that was great in the 10th century, where they mined gold and sophisticated trade relations with surrounding areas and so on, was actually what is around southern Mauritania today. Okay, that is Ghana. When Ghana became independent, the name of Ghana that the British ruled it under by was called the Gold Coast. When on independence, Nkrumah said, we don't want to, Kwame Nkrumah said, we want a great African name for it. And we wanted a name of a great kingdom of earlier times, let's use Ghana. So the Ghana, the kingdom of Ghana, or the state of Ghana, or the empire, we're just using it loosely, was replaced by another state which was further to the south, and that was Mali. Okay, so Mali took the name of that in power. From about 1400 or so on, it was replaced by another state called Songhai.